đấy. Hare Krishna, everybody. Dandavat Pranam. Am I audible?
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. My obeisances to you.
I hope you all well. Just 20 minutes before the meeting, somebody called me and said there is a potential danger of flood. It's one teacher from international school, and they said they're going to evacuate the ground floor just in case if the flood comes. So I was thinking, should I also go and prepare? But it's not sure whether flood is coming or not. Just there is some info that it might come or not. Anyway, I thought we have a class, so let the flood come, whatever happens. The Bhagavata is more important. So let us just quickly try to remember where we stopped and what we did. 2 weeks we didn't have a class because of Radhashtami. I hope you all had blissful Radhashtami festival. So we stopped at chapter 6, if you remember, in which Prahlad Maharaj he instructs his schoolmates, his friends in the school of Sandanamarka, after they tried to kill him. Again, they put him back to the school, and he's still very much obedient student. But during the school breaks, he's using opportunity to teach his schoolmates, and they're all very young and innocent, and that's why they are very much receptive, and they like Prahlad Maharaj. So this is one of the point. We have to preach to those who want to hear. The people have to be receptive. Otherwise, if you try, to non-stop, preach to somebody who just doesn't want to hear, it's pointless. So the other person also has to be receptive, and it's up to us to judge who is receptive, who is not. So what was Prahlad Maharaj talking to them in the last class? I think last class we started somewhere from shloka 9 or 10. Basically, that set of shlokas from 9 to 18 speaks about entangling in materialistic family affairs, how attached householders, they have agitendriya, uncontrolled senses, and that's why they are bound very strongly with the ropes of affection, sneha pashaya, adam. And he cannot be liberated because he's so much attached to his family. Even if one realizes that he should worship Krishna, that devotional service is the proper path, he's unable to do so. Therefore, one should be trained to worship the Lord from very beginning of childhood, from Kumara age. And the training starts as a brahmachari in the Gurukul, in traditional Vedic society. And then he goes on and describes the strength of the material attachments, especially, this desire for money, artha trishnam. Money is more dear than the life, than the honey. And others might try to get his money, but he's protecting it very, he's trying to protect it in all possible ways. So in this way, this insatiable, how do you say, insatiable family attachments very difficult to overcome. Wife is very kind and pleases her husband. Children talk sweet words. Parents, daughter, household furniture, animals. Nowadays, household, vehicles. So in this way, genitals and tongue are the sense that bind one to material conditions. So the absorption in family maintenance is decreasing lifespan of everybody. And then Prahlad Maharaj, he described earlier how actually the materialistic family life is deep, dark, well, griha, andakupam. He described that even in the previous chapter, in the 5th chapter. And then he said that even the learned vidman, those who are learned, they are overcome by ignorance, like fools, because they get so absorbed in these family affairs. And nobody is aspiring for liberation because they are just addicted to family affairs and its attachments. So what is the solution? So how to get out of this? First, one should, keep aloof from the association of non-devotees or demons in this case, because Paul Maharaj and his schoolmates, they're all growing up in the association of Dhanavas, Daityas, that demoniac nature. And then one should take shelter of Lord Narayan, who is the origin of all demigods. And then the process of devotion, he starts explaining the process of devotional service, which is pleasing the Supreme Lord, pleasing Lord Narayan. And it's not very difficult to please him because Lord is pleased with very little. Basically, this is where we stopped, and we are at the shloka 24, 7634. I'll just share my screen. Okay, here. So Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayana Namaskritam Naram Cheva Narayana Tapam Devi Saraswati Vasam Tato Janam Dhira Nashta Pressure Padesha Nityam Bhagavatasu Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishti. So who would like to start reading? Subhadra Mataji? Will you be able to?
Yes, Prabhuji.
You?
Yeah. Tasmat sarveshu bhuteshu dayam kuruta sauridam bhavam asuram unmachya yaya tushyati adoksajaha. Translation. Therefore, my dear young friends, born of demons, please act in such a way that the Supreme Lord, who is beyond the conception of material knowledge, will be satisfied. Give up your demoniac nature and act without enmity or duality. Show mercy to all living entities by enlightening them in devotional service, thus becoming their well-wishers. Purport. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 1855, Bhaktiyamam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tatvatah. One can understand the Supreme Personality as he is only by devotional service. Prahlad Maharaj ultimately instructed his class friends, the sons of the demons, to accept the process of devotional service by preaching the signs of Krishna consciousness to everyone. Preaching is the best service to the Lord. The Lord will immediately be extremely satisfied with one who engages in this service of preaching Krishna consciousness. This is confirmed by the Lord himself in Bhagavad Gita 1869. Nacha tasman manusyeshu kaschin me priya kritama. There is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear. If one sincerely tries his best to spread Krishna consciousness by preaching the glories of the Lord and his supremacy, even if he is imperfectly educated, he becomes the dearmost servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is bhakti. As one performs this service for humanity without satisfied, and the mission of one's life is fulfilled.
You skipped one sentence, without discrimination.
Wait, where this is Bhakti 1. Without discrimination between friends and enemies, the Lord becomes satisfied and the mission of one's life is fulfilled. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna consciousness, Yare Dekh Tare Kahe Krishna Upadesh. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhyam Leela, chapter 7, verse 1 to 128. That is the easiest way to realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By such preaching, the preacher becomes satisfied, and those whom he preaches are also satisfied. This is the process of bringing peace and tranquility to the entire world. Bhoktaram yadya tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suridam sarvabhutanam gyatva mam santim richati. One is expected to understand these three formulas of knowledge concerning the Supreme Lord, that he is the supreme enjoyer, that he is the proprietor of everything, and that he is the best well-wisher and friend of everyone. A preacher should personally understand these truths and preach them to everyone. Then there will be peace and tranquility all over the world. The word Sauridam, friendliness, is very significant in this verse. People are generally ignorant of Krishna consciousness, and therefore, to become their best well-wisher, one should teach them about Krishna consciousness without discrimination. Since the Supreme Lord, Vishnu, is situated in the core of everyone's heart, everybody is a temple of Vishnu. One should not misuse this understanding as an excuse for such words as the Ridra Narayan. If Narayan lives in the house of the Ridra, a poor man, this does not mean that Narayan becomes poor. He lives everywhere, in the house of the poor and those of the rich. But in all circumstances, he remains Narayan. To think that he becomes either poor or rich is a material calculation. He is always Sat Aishwarya Purna, full in 6 opulences in all circumstances. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Since the Lord can be realized by bhakti, bhakti should be made steady without obstacles by showing mercy and friendship to all beings. So Sauridam also means affection, because all beings are the Shakti of the Lord. They are form of the Lord, and may Lord also exist in his Swarup within all these beings. Therefore, I should show affection to them. Prahlad thinks, if Bhakti Devi, by the mercy of Guru and Vaishnavas, accepts me, then the Lord will also be directly visible. By that compassion and affection, the Lord will be satisfied.
We have Prahlad Maharaj in this verse is stressing the importance of compassion to others. Give up your demonic nature and then show mercy to all living entities by enlightening them in devotion, service, and thus becoming their well-wisher. And then Prabhupada here is stressing the importance of preaching, how preaching is the best service to the Lord and how Lord will be extremely satisfied. And this is the fact through preaching, through carrying the order of the Lord, one gets the mercy, and the Lord becomes pleased with him. But sometimes we find the situation where the Lord is neglect their own practice, but they kind of continue to preach or engage in outreach activities without really practicing much. So that sort of preaching is sooner or later going to stop because you need to have something to give to others in order to be able to help them change their lives. Otherwise, if my conscience is not changed, and if I'm still the same old materialistic person, how I'm going to help others? In the old days, the Buddhists would distribute in books, but sometimes Prabhupada would hear that they're not reading the books, and then he was very heavy on them. You have also to read. Means you also have to understand and realize things and practice. So both achar and prachar should be there. One does not work without the other. Just achar, if one is perfect in his, personal, spiritual cultivation, but he doesn't preach, he's a sort of Babaji, which is not that pleasing to the Lord as somebody who is also perfect example of personal cultivation, plus, showing mercy to others. And Haridas Thakur was such a personality who was perfect in both Achar and Prachar. So he both practiced perfectly. He chanted 300,000 names every day, and at the same time he preached. So this is our ideal. So we should not forget that point, that to preach also we require to practice very intensely and have some realizations to be able to help others. Otherwise, it will just not work. It will be very difficult to change anybody or convince them about anything. It will be just empty talk. Does anybody has any point on this? If not, we can continue with the next. Dhanashri Mataji, can you please read? Dhanashri Mataji, you there?
Yes, I just take a little time to open the microphone, but I am there.
Sure, no problem.
Okay. So to stay cha tatra kim alabyam ananda adye kim tair guna vyaktikagal iya yeswa siddha dharma daya kim agunena cha kanchilena salam jusam charanayo upagayalam naha. Translation: nothing is unobtainable for devotees who have satisfied the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the cause of all causes, the original source of everything. The Lord is the reservoir of unlimited spiritual qualities. For devotees, therefore, who are transcendental to the modes of material nature, what is the use of following the principles of religion, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation, which are all automatically obtainable under the influence of the modes of nature? We devotees always glorify the lotus feet of the Lord, and therefore we need not ask for anything in terms of dharma, kama, artha, and moksha. Purport: in an advanced civilization, people are eager to be religious, to be economically well situated, to satisfy their senses to the fullest extent, and at last to attain liberation. However, they are not to be magnified as desirable. Indeed, for a devotee, These are all very easily available. Bilva Mangala Thakur said, Mukti Swayam Mukuli Tanjali Sevate Swan Damarta Kama Gataya Samaya Prakshaha. Liberation always stands at the door of a devotee, ready to carry out his orders. Material advancements in religion, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation simply wait to serve a devotee at the first opportunity. A devotee is already in a transcendental position. He does not need further qualifications to be liberated. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 14.26, Sagunam Samantielan Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpati. A devotee is transcendental to the actions and reactions of the three modes of material nature because he is situated on the Brahman platform. Prahlad Maharaj said, Agunena cha kankshitena. If one is engaged in the transcendental loving service of the lotus feet of the Lord, he does not need anything in terms of dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. In Srimad Bhagavatam, therefore, in the beginning of the transcendental literature, it is said, Dharma Pujita Kaitavo, Dharma, okay, false and unnecessary. Dharma artha, kama, and moksha are kalitava, false and unnecessary. Niyamatsarabanam, persons who are completely transcendental to the material activities of separateness, who make no distinction between mine and yours, but who simply engage in the devotional service of the Lord, are actually fit to accept Bhagavat Dharma, Dharma Bhagavatam, Bhagavatam here. Because they are Niyamatsara, not jealous of anyone, they want to make others devotees, even their enemies. In this regard, Srila Madhvacharya remarks, Kanksate mokshagam api sukam nakanchato yata. Devotees are not desirous of any material happiness, including the happiness derived from liberation. This is called Anyabilasita Sunyam Yana Karmadi Anavritam. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.111. Karmi desire material happiness, and Gyanis desire liberation. But a devotee does not desire anything. He is simply satisfied by rendering transcendental loving service at the lotus feet of the Lord and glorifying him everywhere by preaching, which is his life and soul. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, if the Lord is satisfied, what is use of other goals of aspiration? They have no result. They are attained on their own swasiddha, and this world by transformation of the gunas. What is the use of liberation? Agunena. We glorify excessively upagayatam and serve yusyam, the sweetness of the Lord's lotus feet. The Lord's feet are like lotuses which sweat with sweet fragrance and taste salam. The devotees are like bees who by their nature do not desire other things.
So yeah, this is the nature of pure devotee described here that he does not want anything except to serve the Lord. So, nirmat saranam. So this is the word is there. Non-envious, non-jealous means if you desire anything from dharma, artha, kama, moksha, you have to have this 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 nirmatsara. You have to have matsarya actually. You have to have envy of others because you desire something for yourself. Dharma, mundane religiosity is something that is used in order to make art, to make material economic progress, and then that progress is used for sense gratification, karma. And then even moksha, which is higher than these three, is still something that you desire for yourself. And then as soon as you desire something for yourself, then you see others as your competitors. And then as soon as you see others as, those who are competing with you for limited resources, especially regarding these three, dharma, artha, and kama, the resources are limited for sense gratification. And then I have to compete with them in order to earn as much as possible for myself, to get as much as possible gratification for myself. And others are my enemies. So I have to become, envious and jealous of them. And then you see, everybody in the material world is jealous of others. One human being is envious at other human beings. One nation is envious of other nations. One animal is envious of other animals, and that's why there are always, fights and wars and disturbances, because this place is full of envious living entities. And only pure devotee who has no material desires, who doesn't desire anything from dharma, artha, kama, or even moksha, only he is completely nirmat saranam, means completely free from envy, from jealousy. Even jnanis and yogis, they're selfish. They want their own personal liberation. They want to end the suffering. At least they understood that material world is just suffering, but still they're selfish. They want something for themselves. Only devotee does not want anything for himself. So devotee, he's not very much attached to stay in material world or get liberated. He's basically indifferent, and this is the best position to take up the devotional service. You are not too much attached to stay in material world and enjoy it, but you're also not so much pride with it that you have strong motivation to get out of it, like jnanis and yogis. Then you would aspire for liberation. No, devotee doesn't aspire for any of these things, because uh, even moksha is something that is not desirable for devotees. All right. Anybody has anything else? Otherwise, we can continue with next Chatura Mataji.
Yeah, Prabhu, I have one question.
Yes, please.
Just now you talk about the material people, materialistic people, that they have envies on others. What about it's very difficult to understand devotees' envy, because they have learned the spiritual knowledge, but still they have so much envy on others. Then how to understand this?
Oh, yes. So, yeah, the question is that here we speak about devotee, ideal devotee, means pure devotee, somebody who is completely, surrendered to the Lord, and who is freed from all anarthas. The rest of us, we are called aspiring devotees. So we are actually just trying to become a real, genuine devotee. So we are, that's why it's called aspiring sadhakas, aspiring devotees. So devotee is not a cheap thing, but of course nowadays, it's we address as devotee anybody who dresses up in a dhoti or sari and puts tilak, although he might be still full of material desires. So we should understand that these statements here, that the devotee is completely non-envious, this refers to advanced devotee, somebody who has overcome the material anarthas and who is at least at the stage of nishta, if not higher. Those who are below this stage, they're aspiring devotees. They are still, they want to become devotees. They're aspiring. They're moving towards it, but still they have a lot of anarthas. Envy is one of them. And if they don't take care to overcome these anarthas, it will take a long time until they become real devotees. So and this is just a word definition, whom you consider. Whenever, Shastra or Prabhupada here speaks about devotee, he speaks about ideal devotee, pure devotee, Uttamadhikari, somebody who, like Prahlad Maharaj, he's an example of devotee, like Haridas Thakur, these are devotees, Rupa Goswami. And who are we comparing to them? Can we say, oh, I'm a devotee, Rupa Goswami is devotee? It's a different category, completely different category of devotees. Rupa Goswami is a real devotee. We are not even a shadow of devotee comparing to Rupa Goswami. But of course, we are aspiring devotees. We want to become like these ideal devotees. Is this Kuya Mataji? Chatura Mataji?
Yeah. Very good.
Okay, please, can we continue reading? Chatura Mataji, you can read if you wish.
Okay. Tama Uttha Kama Itiyo Hitaschivaga Isha Chayinaya Tamo Vivita Chavarita Manyeta Data Da Kilam Nigamasha Satyam Swama Panam Swa Shuhita Paranmasha Pushaha. Translation. Purport translation. Yeah. Religion,
Yeah, translation.
religion, economic development, and sense gratification. These are described in the Vedas as Chivaga, or three ways to salvation. Within these three categories are education and self-realization. Ritualistic ceremonies performed according to Vedic injunction, logic, the source of law and order, the various means of earning one's livelihood. These are the external subject matters of study in the Vedas, and therefore I consider move forward.
Yeah, it's forward.
I consider material. However, I consider surrender to the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu to be transcendental. Purport. These instructions of Prahlad Maharaj stress the transcendental position of devotional service as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 14.26. Machanyo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunam Samadhi Tian Tan Brahma Buddhaya Kalpate. One who engages in full devotional service, who does not fall down in any circumstance, at once transcends the modes of material nature, and thus come to the level of Brahman. One who fully engages in the devotional service of the Lord is immediately raised to the transcendental position, which is the Brahma Buddha stage. Srimad Bhagavatam 4.30.20. Any education or activities not on the Brahma Buddha platform, the platform of self-realization, is considered to be material. And Prahlad Maharaj says that anything material cannot be the absolute truth, for the absolute truth is on the spiritual platform. This is also confirmed by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita 2.45, where he says, Chegunya Vashaya Veda Nischegunyo Pava Arjuna. The Vedas mainly deal with the subject of the three modes of nature. Rise above these modes, O Arjuna, be transcendental to all of them. To act on the material platform, even if one's activities are sanctioned by the Vedas, is not the ultimate goal of life. The ultimate goal of life is to stay on the spiritual platform, fully surrender to the Parama Purusha, the Supreme Person. This is the object of the human mission. In summary, the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies and injunctions are not to be discounted. They are means of being promoted to the spiritual platform. But if one does not come to the spiritual platform, the Vedic ceremonies are simply a waste of time. This is confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.8. Tama svanustikta pusam visvashena katashuyah no padayai yadi ratin swama eva hi kevalam. Duties, dharma, executed by man, regardless of occupation, are only so much useless labor if they do not provoke attraction for the message of the Supreme Lord. If one strictly performs the various duties of religion, but does not ultimately come to the platform of surrendering to the Supreme Lord, his methods of attaining salvation or elevation are simply a waste of time and energy. Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur, 7.626. If Dharma, Artha, and Karma are not the goals of human life, why have the two sons of Shukracharya said these are prescribed in the Vedas? Knowledge of Atma Isha, knowledge of Karma, Chayi, argumentation, and administering justice, Nayatamo, and the various occupations, Varta. All of this I consider to be stated in the Vedas, Nikanmasya. I do not criticize them, since they are approved for suitable persons. What is beneficial for the saintly Satyan is surrender to the Supreme Lord, offering the self as the perfection of the Lord. Shritara Swami gives the following meaning. I consider that all of these goals are factually proclaimed in the Vedas concerned with the three gunas, Nikamasha, and the Vedas beyond the gunas proclaim surrender to the Lord. The Lord says, Chaigunya Visaya Veda Nischay-gunya Bhagavanarjuna. O Arjuna, the Vedas deal with the three gunas, but be transcendental to the three gunas. Bhagavad Gita 2.45.
In regard to these Vedic ceremonies, just today I was actually in Gurukul, and there was a big yagya there on the occasion of Vishwarup Mahotsava and starting of the new school year. And yeah, the fire was there, the boys chanting mantras, there's a lot of smoke and everything. It looked like in Satya Yoga, unworldly, with the Purusha Sukta prayers and these things. But then after that, some devotee spoke and said that all, the yagyas, tantras and mantras, they're the process of religion in, in some previous ages. But in this age of Kali, Sankirtan Yaga is the main yaga, not the fire yagas. But still, these fire sacrifices and other rituals prescribed in the Vedas, they have their purpose, their place, but as Prabhupada says here, they are not to be discounted. They are means of being promoted to the spiritual platform. But what generally happens that they become just a ritual that is not promoting one anywhere, but is used for satisfying one's material needs. If one does not come to the spiritual platform, then these Vedic ceremonies are a simple waste of time. So we should not. That's why we should not be so much attached to the ceremonies and rites and external manifestations of religiosity. If they're devoid of devotional service, they're a waste of time.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Nanaji.
I was going to ask you, according to the purport, Arjuna is told by Krishna to be transcendental to the three modes of material nature. I was wondering, is it a decision that you choose to be on the transcendental level, or it comes with the service?
Okay, so how to become come to the level beyond the three gunas?
Yes.
Well, it would be easy that I say now, okay, I want to be under the three gunas, above the three gunas, transcendental, and now I am transcendental. But it just doesn't happen. You can try and see. We are conditioned by these three gunas, and just proclaiming that we are beyond the three gunas, we are not going to raise beyond the three gunas. Our consciousness has to be purified through the process of devotional service, through sadhana, through purification of the heart, generally, and gradually we raise above the three gunas. So it's not a,
is it a state of consciousness, or this is what I'm asking? Is it a state of consciousness, or it comes slowly by the practice of
Yeah, it's a state of consciousness that you're not affected by the three modes of material nature. That you're on the Brahma, basically Brahma Bhuta platform is the state that you are above the three gunas. So even other transcendentalists, like impersonalists or yogis, they can come to this state of Brahma Bhuta, and they're not affected by the modes. They're not affected by jubilation, lamentation, and then they realize they're the soul. But then from that state, one has to further engage in pure devotional service in order, to advance further. Otherwise, if he just stays on Brahma Bluetooth platform, that's not the furthest point one can reach. So yes, it is a state of consciousness and comes gradually as we engage in bhakti, as we practice. It's not possible like this. Of course, here, yeah, Krishna says to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita, because Arjuna was already above the modes, but by Lord's will, in order for him to speak Bhagavad Gita, for a short while he was put in illusion in Maya, that he was affected by all these doubts. So Krishna is just clearing these doubts, and immediately after Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita, which is just 2 hours, Arjuna is again back to his, pure consciousness, and immediately he's again above the modes. Just momentarily he was affected by Lord's will. Otherwise, Arjuna is pure devotee and his consciousness is pure. So that's why he could just quickly, raise above it. But those of us who are not Arjuna, who are conditioned, it takes much longer. It can take whole life, of chanting. So the main, for our raising above the gunas is chanting the holy name. This is what can make us transcendental to the influence of the modes. So this is the main process.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so let's see. So who is the next? Shantirupa Mataji is there. Can you please read? Shantirupa Mataji.
Yeah. Jnanam tadetadamalam duravaapamaha Narayano narasakha kila naradaya Ekantinam bhagavatastadakinchananam Padaravindarajasapluta Sat. Translation. Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the well-wisher and friend of all living entities, formally explained this transcendental knowledge to the great saint Narada. Such knowledge is extremely difficult to understand without the mercy of a saintly person like Narada. But everyone who has taken shelter of Narada's disciplic succession can understand this confidential knowledge. Purport. It is stated here that this confidential knowledge is extremely difficult to understand. Yet it is very easy to understand if one takes shelter of a pure devotee. This confidential knowledge is also mentioned at the end of Bhagavad Gita, where the Lord says, Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. Bhagavad Gita 18.66. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. This knowledge is an extremely confidential secret, but it can be understood if one approaches the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the bona fide agent, the spiritual master in the disciplic succession from Narada. Prahlad Maharaj wanted to impress upon the sons of the demons that although such knowledge can be understood only by a saintly person like Narada, they should not be disappointed. For if one takes shelter of Narada instead of material teachers, this knowledge is possible to understand. Understanding does not depend upon high parentage. The living entity is certainly pure on the spiritual platform, and therefore anyone who attains the spiritual platform by the grace of the spiritual master can also understand this confidential knowledge. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. To give the boys faith, Prahlad explains the Guru Sampradaya. If Narada is the hearer, what hopes do low persons like us have to understand this? All those who bathe in the dust of the Lord's lotus feet, who are dedicated devotees, can understand this, not just the most exalted devotees.
So yeah, all those who follow in the footsteps of pure devotees are also eligible to understand. It's not just a matter of theoretical understanding, but it's also a matter of acceptance and realization, and that happens by the mercy of Guru and Krishna. So the one who is on the spiritual platform, he can impart this knowledge to others, and then by his grace and Krishna's grace, those who are recipients of that knowledge, they will also be raised to the spiritual platform. Yes, Savaram Parityaja. That means, all material dharmas, one has to overcome, to give up. That means all sort of karma kanda procedures and other things that are not Bhagavad Dharma. All right. Who else is there? Shailesh Prabhu, Gunaraj Prabhu. Shailesh Prabhu, can you please continue?
Yes, Prabhu. Shrutam itan maya purvam gnanam vignasamayuttam dharmam bhagavatam sudham naradat devadarshadat darshanat. Translation. Prahlad Maharaj continued, I received this knowledge from the great saint Narad Muni, who is always engaged in devotional service. This knowledge, which is called Bhagavatam, is fully scientific. It is based on logic and philosophy and is free from all material contamination.
So maybe one more, because this is just...
Do you want to do the...
Yeah, one more, because there's no purpose here.
Yeah. Shri Daitya Putra Uvacha Prarada Tvam Vayam Chapi Naratte Nayam Vidma He Guru Ayam Guru Putra Vyayam Balanam Api Ishvaro Balasyan Tatputrastahashra Mahat Sango Duranvaya Chindi Na Samsayam Somya Sayajchet Vishramakarnanam. The sons of the demons replied, Dear Prahlad, neither you nor we know the teacher or spiritual master other than Shanda and Amarka, the sons of Sukracharya. After all, we are children, and they are our controllers. For you especially, who always remain within the palace, it is very difficult to associate with a great personality. Dear friend, most gentle one, would you kindly explain how it was possible for you to hear Narada? Kindly dispel our doubts in this regard. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purpose of the seventh canto, 6th chapter, the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Prahlad Instructs His Demonic Schoolmates.
There is just one short purport of Vishnu Chavri Thakur here, maybe I can read. So they ask concerning this subject, we do not know any teacher except these two. So they know only Shanda and Amarka. So where did Prahlad learn all these things? Because Shanda and Amarka definitely did not teach him this. So they are the controllers of the children. You cannot free yourself from their hands and go to Narada. And it's also impossible for you to go to see Narada, since you remain within the palace. So they were confused. Where did Prahlad got this knowledge? Since he was always within the palace, and Narada obviously did not come to palace. So it was mystery for them. So that's why they're asking. So we finished this chapter and we are going to other chapter, which is entitled What Prahlad Learned in the Womb. And here we have some chapter summary. So perhaps Gunaraj Prabhu could read it.
Yes, Prabhu. Chapter summary. In this chapter, to dissipate the doubts of his class friends, the sons of the demons, Prahlad Maharaja states how within the womb of his mother he had heard from the mouth of Narada Muni, who had instructed him in Bhagavata Dharma. When Hiranyakashipu left his kingdom and went to the mountain known as Mandrachala to execute severe austerities, all the demons scattered. Hiranyakashipu's wife Kayadu was pregnant at that time, and the demigods, mistakenly thinking that she carried another demon in her womb, arrested her. Their plan was that as soon as the child took birth, they would kill him. While they were taking Kayadu to the heavenly planets, they met Narada Muni, who stopped them from taking her away and took her to his ashrama until Hiranyakashipu's return. In Narada Muni's ashrama, Kayadu prayed for the protection of the baby in her womb, and Narada Muni reassured her and gave her instructions on spiritual knowledge. Taking advantage of those instructions, Prahlad Maharaja, although a small baby within the womb, listened very carefully. The spirit soul is always apart from the material body. There is no change in the spiritual form of the living entity. Any person above the bodily conception of life is pure and can receive transcendental knowledge. This transcendental knowledge is devotional service, and Prahlada Maharaj, while living in the womb of his mother, received instructions in devotional service from Narada Muni. Any person engaged in the service of the Lord through the instructions of a bona fide spiritual master is immediately liberated, and being free from the clutches of Maya is relieved of all ignorance and material desires. The duty of everyone is to take shelter of the Supreme Lord and thus become free from all material desires. Regardless of the material condition in which one is situated, one can achieve this perfection. Devotional service is not dependent on the material activities of austerity, penance, mystic yoga, or piety. Even without such assets, one can achieve devotional service through the mercy of a pure devotee.
Okay, so this was a short summary. I guess we will come to all these points in due course of time. So yeah, let me read now. Shinarduvacha evam daitya sutai pristo mahabhagavato suraha uvacha tan smaya mana smaran mad anubhashitam. Translation: Narada Muni said, although Prahlad Maharaj was born in family of Asuras, he was the greatest of all devotees. Having thus been questioned by his class friends, the sons of Asuras, he remembered the words spoken to him by me and replied to his friends as follows. So who is speaking? This is Narada Muni speaking. Purport. When he was in the womb of his mother, Prahlad Maharaj listened to the words of Narada Muni. One cannot imagine how the baby in embryo could hear Narada. But this is spiritual life. Progress in spiritual life cannot be obstructed by any material condition. This is called ahatyuk apratihata. Perception of spiritual knowledge is never checked by any material condition. This Prahlad Maharaj, from his very childhood, spoke spiritual knowledge to his class friends, and certainly it was effective, although all of them were children. So how can a child in a room here? Obviously, it is possible. Just today, when I was in a Gurukul, I met a friend with his wife and 3 children. I already have three children, and the fourth one is in a womb, and she's supposed to give birth any day, 2-3 days. So probably that child could hear as we were talking, and they still don't know whether it's a boy or girl. They didn't check. And the baby is going to be born in Mayapur. They're not planning to go to any hospital, just to have a home birth. So obviously, the child in the womb is receptive to external sounds and other influences. That's why it's very important in what kind of activities the mother during pregnancy engages in. If she's all day, watching movies, sitting in front of the TV, obviously this is not very auspicious influence on a child in the womb. Or if she's eating, very spicy food, this is also even medical science. Doctors will say it's something that is not recommending, or smoking, or engaging in other auspicious activities. But the best thing for her would be, I know some devotee parents who actually do Bhagavat, hearing the Bhagavat regularly, with the purpose that the baby will be benefited, listening to the Bhagavatam, or engaging in other sort of spiritual activities. So Vishnu Thakur says here the 17th chapter describes how Prahlad teaches the boys about bhakti and its results, prema, that he attained from Narada while in his mother's womb. Yeah, it's parenting is a whole science, and it starts, with Garbhadhana Sanskara, and then whole pregnancy is not just carrying a baby in a womb. It's so many things there. The mother's mental state is also affecting the baby, and what she hears, what she speaks about. If she gets angry, if she is often getting angry during the pregnancy, this also affects the child negatively. So it's parenting is a big science in order to benefit still unborn child even. Okay, so should we go back and make a circle again? Who was the first one to read? It was Dhanashri Mataji, I remember. Dhanashri Mataji?
Yes, I am here. Okay. Sri Parada Pacha Pitari Pastite Smakam Tapase Mandala Chalam Yudo Diamam Para Chaku Vibuddha Danavan Prati. Prahlad Maharaj said, when our father Hiranyakashipu went to Mandarachala mountain to execute severe austerities, in his absence, the demigod, headed by King Indra, made a severe attempt to subdue all the demons in warfare.
So if you remember the Hiranyakashipu, he went there and he was standing on one leg with one hand raised, and then the termites, the ants made the anthill around him because he was doing it for quite a long time. So during all this time, his wife was alone, and she was already pregnant. So this happened during that time. Can you read one more?
Yes, Prabhu. Ipili Kair Ayir Iva Distya Loko Patapana Papena Papo Bakshi Pakshiti, Vadantu Vasavadayaha. Alas, as a serpent is eaten by small ants, so the troublesome Hiranyakashipu, who always inflicted miseries upon all types of people, has now been defeated by the reactions of his own sinful activities. Saying this, the demigods, headed by King Indra, arranged to fight the demons.
So yeah, they were thinking this is their chance, finally, to defeat the demons, because the chief of the demons, he was absent. So you want to strike the enemy when the boss is not there. So they used that opportunity. So 4 and 5. Who is the next? Shantirupa Mataji?
Okay. Hare Krishna. Tesham atibalodyogam nishamya suratyuthapa vadyamana surebhita dudruvu sarvato disham kalatra putra vittaptam grihan pashu parichadan navekshamanastavittarita sarve prana paripsava. Translation. When the great leaders of the demons, who were being killed one after another, saw the unprecedented exertion of the demigods in fighting, they began to flee, scattering themselves in all directions. Simply to protect their lives, they hastily fled from their homes, wives, children, animals, and household paraphernalia. Paying no heed to all these, the demons simply fled.
And one more, please.
Yes, please. Valumpan Raja Shibiram Amarajaya Kankshinaha Indrastu Raja Mahishim Mataram Mama Chagrahit. The victorious demigods plundered the palace of Hiranyakashipu, the king of the demons, and destroyed everything within it. Then Indra, king of heaven, arrested my mother, the queen, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Plundering the palace of Hiranyakashipu means by stealing everything, they destroyed it.
Yeah, they didn't expect that he's going to come back, so they wanted to destroy everything. But he did came back, and he was much stronger than before. So they had to flee from their own houses. So King Indra was the one who was leading them, and yeah, they saw his wife, and luckily they didn't kill him. In some situations, they would just kill immediately without considering. But here, they wanted to get the child in the womb first. Modern day demons, they would just kill immediately without considering whether it's a woman or not. But in those days, demons, they had some manners. They also knew the Vedas. Shukracharya and his sons, they knew karma kanda left and right. Okay, so 7-7. Shailesh Prabhu. Shailesh Prabhu, are you there?
Yes, Niyamam nam payodvignam rudintam karimiva yadra chagyatastatra devarshri dadrisi pati. As she was being led away, crying in fear, like a kurari captured by a vulture, the great sage Narad, who at that time had no engagement, appeared on the scene and saw her in that condition.
And one more, please.
Prahanainam surapate nitum arhasya anakashan muncha muncha mahabhaga satim paraparigraham. Narad Muni said, O Indra, king of the demigods, this woman is certainly sinless. You should not drag her off in this merciless way. O greatly fortunate one, this chaste woman is the wife of another. You must immediately release her.
The chaste women are there even in demoniac societies. If you remember, Ravana also had a wife Mandodari, who was one of the greatest chaste wives in history. Not was it Mandodari? Her name, yeah. Not only
Yes.
Ravana, and then who else? Dhritarashtra had a Gandhari. Was it Gandhari?
Yes, yes, Prabhu.
Yes. So they were all chaste wives and very powerful because of that quality of chastity. Although the husbands were not, very exemplary, still, even if the husband is not ideal, but if the wife sticks to her dharma and it's very, chaste and faithful and sticks to her strict dharma, she becomes very, very powerful. So it's not a matter of a husband. And sometimes, the wife might have very, exalted husband, but if she's not chaste and doesn't follow her exalted husband, she loses everything. She doesn't really make any progress. So it doesn't depend so much. Following one's dharma doesn't depend so much on others. It depends on ourselves.
In fact, in the Viva samskaras that we follow in Gaudiya Vaishnava system, actually Ravan and Mandodari are referred to as being the ideal couple.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, in one sense, at least she was ideal wife. I don't know whether he was ideal husband. He had many wives. Mandodari was one of them. But yeah, definitely she's something to be followed. And then Gandhari also. But of course, yeah, for ideal couple, you want both husband and wife to be ideal, not just the wife. I don't know if I remember any examples of husband being ideal and then wife not so much. But yeah, there are some examples. Although in previous ages it was normal for wife to be, very faithful and chaste, obedient, and follow the husband. But if you remember, Prabhupada, he took sannyas because what was that? His wife sold the Bhagavatam for a tea or something like that. So he was basically displeased with her. And then there are other examples, like was it Tukaram, Sage Tukaram, if you remember his life story. He was very spiritual, just wanted always to chant the glories of the Lord, but the vibe was sort of materialistic. And in the end, when the Vimana from Vaikunta came to take him back to Vaikunta, he was calling her, but to join him, but still, she didn't, she couldn't, and that was her bad luck. He went alone. But if the wife is very chaste, even if the husband, is not ideal, even if the husband doesn't go, is not promoted in the next life, the wife will be promoted, and she might be the savior of the husband just by her strict following of her dharma. So the wife can be savior of her husband who is a fallen. In other words. All right. So let's go with the next. Chatura Mataji.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Please.
Translation, King Indra said, in the womb of this woman, the wife of the demon. Oh,
Yeah, I think
Sanskrit.
we already checked. So now I think it's the Shloka 9. Shloka 9,
Okay.
Sanskrit Indra Vacha.
Okay. Shri Indra Uvacha, Astesha Jatare Vireyam, Avishahyam Shura Vishaha, Ashatam Yava Prashavan, Mokshe Atha Padavin Gataha. Translation. King Indra said, in the womb of this woman, the wife of the demon Hiranyakasipu, is the seed of that great demon. Therefore, let her remain in our custody until her child is delivered, and then we shall release her. Purport. Indra, the king of heaven, decided to arrest Prahlad Maharaj's mother because he thought that another demon, another Hiranyakasipu, was within her womb. The best course, he thought, was to kill the child when the child was born, and then the woman could be released. Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur, let her remain in my prison until she delivers the child. Having gained my goal, I will release her. This means, having killed the child that is born, I will release her.
So again, Indra here is undertaking a very problematic action. He wants to kill the child when it's born, infant, to kill the infant baby, which is sinful. And just because of what? For his own preservation, because, he thinks that his throne is endangered. And for that sake, he's not afraid to commit such sin as killing a child. So Devata sometimes also can be very, very materialistic, like Indra showed not only once. He wanted to kill all the Rajavasis also when they refused to worship him, because Krishna told him to worship Govardhan Hill. And some other occasions he also committed adultery and a few other things. Still, he was forgiven by the Lord because of his position as the King of Heaven. All right. So Gunaraj Prabhu is
Yes.
still there? Yes.
Shri Narada Vacha, I am Nishkilbishaga Sakshan Mahabhagavato Mahan Tvayana Prapshyate Samstam Anantanucharo Bali. Narada Muni replied, the child within this woman's womb is faultless and sinless. Indeed, he is a great devotee, a powerful servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, you will not be able to kill him. Purport. There have been many instances in which demons or non-devotees have attempted to kill a devotee, but they have never been able to destroy a great devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord promises in Bhagavad Gita 9.31, Kaunteya pratijanihi na me bhakta pranashyati. This is a declaration by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is, devotee cannot be killed by demons. Prahlad Maharaja is the vivid example of the truth of this promise. Narada Muni told the king of heaven, it would be impossible for you to kill the child, even though you are a demigod, and certainly it would be impossible for others.
So Narada Muni, by his spiritual wisdom, he's able actually to see who the child in the womb is. That's not something very easy. But Narada Muni, he's Trikalagya. He can see the past, present, and the future. So he knew who Prahlad is, and that's why he actually took Kayadu to his ashram. Otherwise, this is generally, something not accepted in Vedic culture to take a wife of another in your ashram. But because he's a transcendental personality, he could do such thing, knowing that the child in the womb is a great devotee. Okay, I'll read now. Ityuktastam vihayendro devarshirmanayam vajaha anandapriya bhaktyainam parikramya divamyayo. Translation. When the great saint Narada Muni had thus spoken, King Indra, being respectful to Narada's words, immediately released my mother. Because of my being a devotee of the Lord, all the demigods circumambulated her. Then they returned to their celestial kingdom. See, although Indra, he was ready, to kill the child after the child was born, although he had a sinful intention, still being a devata, he had a great respect for sages like Narada, for rishis. And then immediately when Narada told him, he obeyed. The demon could not obey, Narada's words, but King Indra, because he's still, Sakarma devotee and has, some faith in saintly personalities, he obeyed the purport. Although King Indra and the other demigods are exalted personalities, they were so obedient to Narada Muni that King Indra immediately accepted Narada Muni's words concerning Prahlad Maharaj. This is called understanding by the Parampara system. Indra and the demigods did not know that the great devotee was in the womb of Kayadu, the wife of Hiranyakashipu, but they accepted the authoritative statements of Narada Muni and immediately offered their respects to the devotee by circumambulating the woman in whose womb he was living. To understand God and the devotee by the parampara system is the process of knowledge. There is no need to speculate about God and his devotee. One should accept the statement of bona fide devotee and thus try to understand. And Vishwanath Thakur says, circumambulating her because of devotion to me, the devotee of the Lord, he left. So they had devotion, these devatas, they had devotion to Narada. They respected him. And because when he said that she carries a great devotee in a womb, they did parikrama around her. He said, I offer respects to the devotee of the Lord situated in her womb. All right, how much time we have? Okay, I guess we go a little longer. So again, we go back. Who was the first? Shantirupa Mataji?
Okay. Tato me mataram rishi samaniya nijashrame ashvase hoshyatam vatse yavate vrataragamaha. Prahlad Maharaj continued, the great saint Narada Muni brought my mother to his ashrama and assured her of all the protection, saying, my dear child, please remain at my ashrama until the arrival of your husband.
Let's continue.
Tatheti avatsi devarsher antike sakuto bhaya yavad daitya patir ghora tapasona navartata. Translation. After accepting the instructions of Devarshi Narada, my mother stayed in his care without fear from any direction, as long as my father, the king of the Daityas, had not become free from his severe austerities. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, Anti stands for Antike.
Let's continue.
ऋषिं पर्यचरत् तत्र भक्त्या परमया सति अन्तर्वत्नी स्वगर्भस्य क्षेमायेच्छा प्रसूतये. Translation: My mother, being pregnant, desired the safety of her embryo and desired to give birth after her husband's arrival. Thus, she stayed at Narada Muni's ashram, where she rendered service unto Narada Muni with great devotion. Purport: It is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 9.19.17, Matra shvasra duhitra va na viviktasano bhavet balavan indriya gramo vidvamsam apikarshati. One should not remain in a secluded place with a woman, even one's mother, sister, or daughter. Nonetheless, although one is strictly prohibited from staying with a woman in a secluded place, Narada Muni gave shelter to Prahlad Maharaj's young mother, who rendered service to him with great devotion and faith. Does this mean that Narada Muni transgressed the Vedic injunctions? Certainly he did not. Such injunctions are intended for mundane creatures, but Narada Muni is transcendental to mundane categories. Narada Muni is a great saint and is transcendentally situated. Therefore, although he was a young man, he could give shelter to a young woman and accept her service. Haridas Thakur also spoke with a young woman, a prostitute, in the dead of night. But the woman could not deviate his mind. Instead, she became a Vaishnavi, a pure devotee, by the benediction of Haridas Thakur. Ordinary persons, however, should not imitate such highly elevated devotees. Ordinary persons must strictly observe the rules and regulations by staying aloof from the association of women. No one should imitate Narada Muni or Haridas Thakur. It is said, Vaishnavero kriyak mudra vigye na bujhai. Even if a man is very advanced in learning, he cannot understand the behavior of a Vaishnava. Anyone can take shelter of a pure Vaishnava without fear. Therefore, in the previous verse, it has been distinctly said, Devarshir Antike Sakuto Bhaya. Kayadhu, the mother of Prahlad Maharaj, stayed under the protection of Narada Muni without fear from any direction. Similarly, Narada Muni, in his transcendental position, stayed with the young man without fear of deviation. Narada Muni, Haridas Thakur, and similar acharyas, especially empowered to broadcast the glories of the Lord, cannot be brought down to the material platform. Therefore, one is strictly forbidden to think that the acharya is an ordinary human being. Gurushu Naramati. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, Ichha Prasutaye means with the desire to deliver her child after the arrival of her husband.
Okay, so Prabhupada here mentions that Narada Muni, although he was a young man, he accepted a young woman in his ashram, but actually this is not a problem for him because he's not a mundane person. He's a transcendental personality. He has no material body. He has, Sachidananda body. So there is no question of material gunas working on him and him being attracted in company of young women. And then another example was given by Haridas Thakur, and there is a third example which is even more extreme. Ramananda Roy, if you remember, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, when Pradyumna Mishra once was sent by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to hear the spiritual knowledge from Ramananda Roy, he came to his house to be told by servant that Ramananda is massaging young girls, Devadasis, and preparing them and teaching them how to dance. And this is the extreme example of somebody who is completely beyond identification with material body. It was described, although he was, massaging these young girls, which means he had to touch even their private parts. Still, he was completely non-disturbed. It was described that his mind was like a wood, because he was completely, completely established in his spiritual position as the servant of the gopis. He didn't consider himself as a male. He was completely firmly situated in his spiritual identity as the manjari, as the servant of the gopi. Actually, Ramananda Roy, he's a Vishaka Saki in his spiritual. So he was firmly, he knew that he was, he himself a gopi in the spiritual world. So what is then there was no problem of touching young girls. But everybody else, and the Jaina Mahaprabhu warns there, everybody else, nobody should imitate activities of such exalted personalities. It's only prerogative of Haridas, of Ramananda Roy to do such things. If anybody else tries to imitate him, he'll be destroyed. And actually, we had here in ISKCON one Maharaj who thought that he was a Ramananda Roy, and that he could massage the young girls. And then what happened? It was kept hidden for some years, but eventually it came out, and it was the cause of the fall down. So these activities of imitating exalted personalities like Haridas Thakur, Narada Muni, or Ramananda Roy are strictly forbidden for all sadhakas who are just aspiring devotees, not nitya siddhas, not perfect devotees. Yeah, is there any comments or questions on these points here? If not, we can continue. Who was the next there in the line? Subhadra Mataji?
Yes. Rishi Karunikastasyaha Pradat Ubhayam Ishvaraha Dharmasya Tattvam Jnanam Cha Mam Api Udishya Nirmalam. Narad Muni delivered his instructions both to me, who was within the womb, and to my mother, who was engaged in rendering him service. Because he is naturally extremely kind to the fallen souls, being in a transcendental position, he gave instructions on religion and transcendental knowledge. These instructions are free from all material contamination. Purport. Here it is said, Dharmasya tattvam jnanam cha nirmalam. The word nirmalam refers to spotless dharma, spotless religion, or in other words, Bhagavad Dharma. Ordinary ritualistic activities constitute contaminated religion, by which one benefits by developing material wealth and prosperity. But uncontaminated, pure religion consists of understanding one's relationship with God and acting accordingly, thus fulfilling the highest mission of life and returning home back to Godhead. Prahlad Maharaj advised that one elevate oneself to the standard of Bhagavad Dharma from the very beginning of life. Kaumaram acharit prakyo dharman bhagavatan iha. The Lord himself also speaks of pure and uncontaminated religion when he says Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. Okay. One must understand one's relationship with God and then act accordingly. This is Bhagavad Dharma. Bhagavad Dharma means Bhakti Yoga. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janayati Asu Vairagyam Jnanam Cha Yat Ahaitukam. By rendering devotional service unto the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detached from the world. Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 2, verse 7. To be situated on the platform of pure religion, one should perform bhakti yoga in relationship with Krishna, Vasudeva. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. With aim of auspiciousness of the child and for delivery after the arrival of her husband, Narad taught the pure essence of dharma, bhakti yoga, and pure knowledge, approved by the devotees to me and also her. Cha.
So yeah, Narada taught the bhakti. He didn't teach any materialistic subject or anything that is superficial, but pure essence of dharma, just devotional service. And this is ideally what should be taught to children. Of course, nowadays in the school and devotee schools, there are so many other subjects being taught because we live in society where children somehow have to make their living in outside society, so they need to know other things as well in order to be able to survive. All right, so who's next? Chatru Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Tatu Kalasha Tigata Jitwan Matas Tiro Dade Rishina Lubrit Hitanmam Nadunapya Jahasuntihi. Translation. Because of the long duration of time that has passed and because of being a woman and therefore less intelligence, my mother has forgotten all those instructions. But the great sage Narada blessed me, therefore I could not forget them. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita 9.32, the Lord says, Manhi Pata Vyapashritya Yepishu Papa Yonayaha Shikyo Vaishyas Tata Sujas Te Piyanti Palangatin. O son of Pritha, those who take shelter in me, though they be low-born women, Vaishyas, merchants, or Shudras workers, can approach the supreme destination. The word Papayoni refers to those who are less than Shudras, but even though a woman may not be Papayoni because of being less intelligent, he sometimes forgets devotional instructions for those who are strong enough. However, there is no question of forgetting. Women are generally attached to material enjoyment, and because of this tendency, they sometimes forget devotional service, devotional instructions. But if even a woman practices devotional service strictly according to the rules and regulations, the statement by the Lord himself that she can return to Godhead, Te Pi Yanti Parangatin, is not at all astonishing. One must take shelter of the law and rigidly follow the rules and regulations. Then, regardless of what one is, one will return home that God had. Prahlad Maharaj's mother was more concerned with protecting the child in the womb and was very anxious to see her husband return. Therefore, she could not consider very seriously the sublime instructions of Narada Muni. Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur. But why do we not see Bhakti in your mother? Because she was a woman and because a long time passed, she forgot. But since you were a child and a long time also passed for you, why did not forget? I attained the mercy of Narada because she did not receive his mercy. The influence of time and her being a woman were stronger.
So here we have one of these famous, little controversial statements by Srila Prabhupada of women being less intelligent, which many people, especially in the modern days, do not like and do not really want to accept, and it's difficult to accept. Like Prabhupada was chauvinist or women hater or what, but it's not like that. It's simply that they are different. We have to accept there are differences between men and women because there are different types of bodies, and with the different types of bodies, there are different kinds of minds. So with the man body, one type of mind comes, man's mind, and then with women's type of body, another mind comes, another subtle body also. So it's not a difference only in a gross material body, but also there is some difference in a subtle body. And what is it actually that that Prabhupada is calling less intelligent? Because we see also women could be also very highly qualified, have a PhDs, you know, solve very complex material problems. It doesn't mean that they do not have a capacity to solve very complicated problems and they cannot think clearly. But this is not what is meant here by intelligence. They those jivas that are in that have a women's mind have a tendency to be more materially attached. This is what is meant. More materially attached, easily become attached and easily disturbed by different sort of emotions that come from these attachments. So the mind is not. It's more difficult for women to keep the mind steady than for men, just by through to the nature of the particular type of body. So the tendency in women's body is to be more attached to, to house, children, family. And then as soon as you become immersed and absorbed in these things, too much attached to these temporary material things, then you're not thinking about, the higher values, like devotional service, liberation, and other things. You just think in terms of worldly attachments and worldly affairs. But this is a tendency, and it it could be also overcome by practice of devotional service. So even if somebody has got a female body and a female mind that has a tendency to be more materially attached, if she is very determined and practice devotional service, she can be raised above it and also come to Brahma Bhuta platform, also become a transcendental and also become a self-realized. Just there is some greater resistance than it is there in the man's body. So this is what is meant by being less intelligent. Not that she's that lady is stupid or foolish or anything. No, just they have a tendency by nature of their body to become more materially attached. Are there any questions or comments? Of course, the men, they also can be very much materially attached. So it's also very much individual. There are many ladies who are much more detached and renounced than many of the men, and much more intelligent, spiritually intelligent than many of men. I mean, all devotee ladies, they are hundreds of times more more intelligent than any non-devotee men, and there are millions of non-devotee men who are there. Yeah, this is just some thoughts on this, because sometimes this is considered, controversial statement, and how could Prabhupada say this, and but it's let's see what is here in the Sanskrit. It's not said exactly less intelligent. It's said just because she was a street because she was a woman. Then she forgot. But Prahlad, because he had a male mind, he didn't forget. But she, because he had a mind of a lady, and she forgot these instructions because she became absorbed in taking care of him and other family affairs. But he was very determined to put in practice what he heard from Narada. Okay, is there anybody who has anything here? I think we'll stop here. We'll not go any further. If you don't have any comments and questions. During the class, my phone was ringing 10 times. I guess people are so much now alerted because of the possible flood that everybody, like, I know when the flood is going to come, whether it's going to come, but anyway, let us hope it doesn't come. But it's good to have some, those for Mayapur, Pio Gunnar Prabhu Subhadra Mari Shantarupa Mataji.
Yeah.
It's good to have some supplies, at least for 1 week, not to starve. and it will be good. Yeah, it will be good.
I would, I'll read, yeah.
Yes, it's good time to read Bhagavatam also. Then if you cannot go out.
Yeah, even if we are women.
Yeah. It's not actually derogatory. Prabhupada he was so loving actually to all of his lady devotees, to Yamuna Devi Mataji and so many others.
But thanks
Mama,
to Srila Prabhupada who gave us this great opportunity.
yeah, I mean Malati Mataji, he said these are not ordinary women. Devotees, they're not ordinary women, so you cannot actually classify them here. So they're actually not the devotee ladies, they're the most intelligent because they're just by the fact that they're devotees, so they don't count in this less intelligent. And once one lady asked Prabhupada about this, and he told her, if you think you're a lady, then you're less intelligent. Otherwise, you're not. As long as you identify with the body, whether we're men or women, then we're less intelligent. Also, Bhakti Swami once he complained that some devotees they were kind of racist, and because he was in the black body, and then Prabhupada told him, "Well, if you think that you're black, then you're less intelligent. We are not the body. We are not a man or woman. We are spirit soul. We are Nitya Krishna Das, eternal servant of Krishna. So if we are establishing this understanding, then there is no question of being less intelligent. Then we are the most intelligent, whether we are men or women." All right.
Bhavatam Bhavatamapi bhuyan me yadi shraddhate vacha vaisharadidhi shraddhata stribalanam cha me yatha. Translation. Prahlad Maharaj continued, "My dear friends, if you can place your faith in my words, simply by that faith you can also understand transcendental knowledge. Just like me, although you are small children. Similarly, a woman can also understand transcendental knowledge and know what is spirit and what is matter. Purport. These words of Prahlad Maharaj are very important in regard to knowledge descending by the disciplic succession. Even when Prahlad Maharaj was a baby within the womb of his mother, he became fully convinced of the existence of the supreme power because of hearing the powerful instructions of Narada and understood how to attain perfection in life by Bhakti Yoga. These are the most important understandings in spiritual knowledge. Yasya deve para bhakti yatha deve tatha guru tasyaite kathita hi artha prakashante mahatmanaha. Unto those great souls who have implicit faith in both the Lord and the spiritual master, all the imports of the Vedic knowledge are automatically revealed. Atah Shri Krishna Namadi na bhaved grahyam indriya sevonmukhe hi jivado swayam eva sfurati yada. No one can understand Krishna as he is by the blunt material senses, but he reveals himself to the devotees, being pleased with them for their transcendental loving service unto him. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tattvataha tato mam tattvato gyatva vishate tad anantaram. One can understand the Supreme Personality as he is only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of the Supreme Lord by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. These are Vedic instructions. One must have full faith in the words of the spiritual master and similar faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then the real knowledge of Atma and Paramatma and the distinction between matter and spirit will be automatically revealed. This Atma Tattva or spiritual Tattva will be revealed within the core of a devotee's heart because of his having taken shelter of the lotus feet of a Mahajana, such as Prahlad Maharaj. In this verse, the word Bhuyat may be understood to mean, let there be. Prahlad Maharaj offers his blessings to his class friends, saying, and also become faithful like me, become bona fide Vaishnavas. A devotee of the Lord desires for everyone to take to Krishna consciousness. Unfortunately, however, people sometimes do not have staunch faith in the words of the spiritual master who comes by the disciplic succession, and therefore they are unable to understand transcendental knowledge. The spiritual master must be in the line of authorized disciplic succession, like Prahlad Maharaj, who received the knowledge from Narada. If the class friends of Prahlad Maharaj, the sons of demons, were to accept the truth through Prahlad, they would certainly also become fully aware of transcendental knowledge. The words Vaisharadidhi refers to intelligence concerning the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is extremely expert. The Lord has created wonderful universes by his expert knowledge. Unless one is extremely expert, he cannot understand the expert management of the Supreme Expert. One can understand, however, if one is fortunate enough to meet a bona fide spiritual master coming in the disciplic succession from Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, Mother Lakshmi, or the Kumaras. These four sampradayas or disciplic successions of knowledge and transcendence are called the Brahma Sampradaya, Rudra Sampradaya, Shri Sampradaya, and Kumara Sampradaya. Sampradaya Vihina Je Mantraste Nishphala Mataha. The knowledge of the Supreme received from such a sampradaya or disciplic succession can give one enlightenment. If one does not take to the path of disciplic succession, it is not possible for one to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If one understands the Supreme Lord through devotional service with faith in the disciplic succession and then advances further, he awakens his natural love for God and then his success in life is assured. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Bhuyat indicates blessings. He desires that they also obtain the mercy of Narada present in him as a cause of bhakti. If you have faith in my words, then may you have intelligence fixed in the Lord. Vaisharadi. Prema, arising from bhakti. Shraddhata, which arises from mercy of the great devotee. This will be understood later in the text.
So yeah, Prahlad Maharaj, he wants also his schoolmates, his friends in the school to be also benefited by Narada's mercy as he is. And they are the most fortunate because they had the association of Prahlad. So they just have to be receptive and accept the mercy. Otherwise, we can have a good fortune of having good association of pure devotee, but one has to also be receptive to that mercy, to take the mercy and apply his instructions in his life. Otherwise, Srila Prabhupada, he had, 5,000 disciples. How many disciples stayed in Krishna consciousness? How many left? Most of them actually, they left. Only a small number stayed there. But of course, they got benefit, definitely, and they'll continue the next life, their devotional service, just by meeting pure devotee like Prabhupada, and especially being initiated by him. Even if one doesn't complete process in this lifetime, he will continue next lifetime. So it's never lost. Even short moment, even a muhurta, it said, mula, or what is it, lava matra, it can lead to perfection, but doesn't mean that it will lead to perfection immediately in this lifetime, but eventually after few lifetimes or whatever time is needed for this person to get purified and to take to the spiritual practice seriously, then he will be liberated and go back to the spiritual world. It's never lost. But to get the full mercy in this lifetime, one also has to be serious to accept instructions and has enough determination to apply. Okay, if anybody has any concluded comments, otherwise we will stop. Stop here. It's already 8 o'clock, and then hopefully we continue next next Wednesday, if everybody is okay. Okay, thank you all very much. See you next Wednesday. Hare Krishna, Dandavat.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Please stay safe, all those in my please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much.